Camera, action!
Cartoon Network presents ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons. During the golden age of animation, the Warner Brothers Cartoon Department produced more than 1,000 Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies cartoons. The zany personalities of the talented men and women behind the scenes created characters that have since become beloved stars in some of the funniest cartoons ever made. Many of these cartoons are known the world over. But that's not all, folks. These inspired animators produced much more than just Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies. Tonight, we're going to open the Warner Brothers Cartoon Vault and take a look at some rare animation you won't be so familiar with. Some of these cartoons have not been shown since their original theatrical release, while others were never shown in public at all. These lost treasures were created by Warner Brothers' legendary directors Chuck Jones, Friz Freleng, Bob Clampett, and Robert McKimson, with music by Carl Stalling and the unmistakable voice of Mel Blanc. Through extensive research, we have discovered rare early cartoon shorts, long-lost cartoon series made specifically for the U.S. Armed Forces, feature film animation sequences, classic commercials, abandoned TV pilots, and even a live-action short. Sit back and enjoy these rare animated treasures as Cartoon Network provides a new glimpse into the golden age of animation with ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons. In the early 30s, Leon Schlesinger agreed to supply Warner Brothers with musical shorts for theatrical release. At the same time, two of Disney's top animators, Hugh Harman and Rudolph Ising, created a new cartoon character called Bosco. The young animators met with Schlesinger and showed him their new animated film. On the basis of this cartoon, Schlesinger hired Harman and Ising at $50 a week to direct his first animated series called Looney Tunes. Here's the cartoon that Schlesinger saw. This rare animated short was the beginning of Warner Brothers cartoons and was one of the very first talking cartoons. And now, a rare piece of animation history, Bosco the Talking Kid.
All right, now that you're here, what can you do?
What can I do? Oh, boss, what I can't do ain't.
Well, who are you?
Who is I? I'm Bosco. That's who I ain't. Nobody else except Bud.
Bosco, eh? All right, Bosco, show me what you can do.
You'll go back to the pen for you. Well, so long, folks. See you all later.
Another of Schlesinger's efforts for Warner Brothers was a series of musical shorts entitled Spoony Melodies. They were designed to replace the live theater organist with a filmed version. Cryin' for the Carolines featured popular crooner Milton Charles, also known as the singing organist. It is believed that only 4 Spoony Melodies were ever created. Their appeal was as limited as their animation. This is the only known surviving Spoony Melodies print. The Art Deco-inspired Cryin' for the Carolines.
Where is the girl that I used to meet down where the pale moon shines? Anyone can see what's troubling me. I'm crying for the Caroline.
Spoony Melodies quickly gave way to the now famous Merry Melodies, which were conceived to promote songs from the growing Warner Brothers music library. Unlike Looney Tunes, which were character-driven, Merry Melodies cartoons were created specifically for a song. For their first Merry Melody, Harmon and Ising created a story around the popular song, Lady Play Your Mandolin. Although this cartoon is much more raucous than a Disney cartoon, the influence of their former employer is clearly evident on the young animators. Like Disney, Harmon and Ising brought inanimate objects to life. Lady Play Your Mandolin was not only the very first Merry Melody, but it also marked the debut of Warner Brothers' newest character, Foxy. What makes this cartoon all the more surprising is the fact that it was released 2 years before the repeal of Prohibition, and yet the entire cartoon revolves around drinking. It is believed that Lady Play Your Mandolin has not been seen since its original theatrical release almost 70 years ago.
Lady, play your mandolin. Lady, let that tune begin. When you sing a song of sin, I'm sinner too. I'm a sinner too. Lady, when you play for me, I should today for me. And the angels pray for me, I belong to you. Rita, I could eat your heart. Lady, play your mandolin. Lady, sing your song of sin. So I hear you, let me hear you play.
Your mandolin. Oh, baby, hear my song sing. Lady, play your mandolin. Lady, let that tune begin. When I sing your song of sin, I'm a sinner too.
I'm a sinner too. I'm a sinner too.
I'm a sinner too.
Lady, when you play for me, night turns into day for me.
And the angels pray for me. I belong to you. Poop-a-doo, poop-poop.
Senorita, sweet Chiquita, I could eat your heart.
Lady, play your mandolin. Lady, sing your song of sin. Though I hear you, let me hear you play.
Senorita, sweet Chiquita, I could eat your heart. Lady, play your mandolin. Lady, sing your song of sin. Oh, mammy, mammy, let me hear
With his cartoon studio up and running, Leon Schlesinger took a shot at live-action feature films. In the early 30s, he produced 6 B-westerns, starring an up-and-coming cowboy star named John Wayne.
Well, buddy, let's go see what all this ruckus is about.
For his final western, Haunted Gold, Schlesinger enlisted the help of his own animators to create this eerie main title sequence. However, Schlesinger soon returned to the realm of his beloved cartoons. Work at the Schlesinger studio was far from formal, as evidenced by these Christmas party gag reels from the late 30s.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
The gag reels were only shown once, at each year's office Christmas party. Little wonder that these are the men and women who brought the wacky antics of Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies to the screen. Here, the animators spoofed the studio's working conditions.
Doggone old joint man. Who wants money in this job? Me too.
The cartoon directors got into the act, impersonating their female colleagues in the ink and paint department. No wonder Bugs Bunny dressed in drag so often. Even the bigwigs at Schlesinger's studio made appearances in the company's gag reels.
Damn this thing. I'd say about 20,000 would be a good estimate.
That's a pretty high figure. I'd say 15,000.
Oh, don't be screwy, Ray. I'll compromise at 18,000.
I still say it's 15,000.
I'll make you a bet. We've polished at least 18,000 cells today.
We'll be right back with more rare lost cartoons. But first, can you name the only cartoon character ever to be drafted into the United States Marine Corps? We'll have the answer when ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons, returns in just a moment.
Hey, Noy!
Welcome back to this special edition of ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons. Bugs Bunny's popularity during the Second World War was so great
Thumbs up, Doc. Thumbs up.
that the United States Marine Corps officially drafted the Wascally Wabbit Private First Class. Now back to ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons. During World War II, the mood at Leon Schlesinger's studio got a bit more serious. The studio did their part for the war effort, creating this 1942 short subject featuring Bugs Bunny selling war bonds to the music of Irving Berlin, and under the direction of Bob Clampett.
The tall man with a high hat and a whiskers on his chin will soon be knocking at your door, and you ought to be in. The tall man with the high hat will be coming down your way. Get your savings out when you hear him shout, any bonds today? Come on and get 'em, folks. Come on, skip right up and get 'em. Any bonds today? Bonds of freedom, that's what I'm selling. Any bonds today? Scrape up the most you can. Here comes the freedom man, asking you to buy a share of freedom today.
Here comes the freedom man.
Can't make tomorrow's plan, not unless you buy a share of freedom today. Any stamps, any bonds today.
Warner Brothers Cartoons also created a series for the U.S. Army called Private Snafu. These animated shorts were never shown to civilians. Only U.S. soldiers were allowed to see them. Snafu stands for
Situation normal. All fouled up.
Private Snafu was the worst soldier in the Army. But hopefully through the eras of his ways, America's fighting men would avoid the same mistakes. Each cartoon humorously addressed a different topic. And although they sometimes depicted controversial subject matter and ethnic stereotypes, it is important to recognize they were created at a time of war and were meant to rally American troops against our aggressors. Between 1943 and 1945, 26 Snafu shorts were produced. Several of the early Snafu cartoons were written by Theodore Geisel, also known as Dr. Seuss. Listen closely to Spies, and you'll hear the trademark lyrics and rhyming of a young Dr. Seuss.
I just learned a secret. It's a honey. It's a pip. But the enemy is listening, so I'll never let it slip. 'Cause when I learn a secret, boy, I zipper up my lip. Now, the military secret that I carry in my brain, I keep in safe deposit with a padlock and chain. You bet I got a secret. The soldier's got a secret, but I bet we find it out. Hello, Ma. I got a secret. I can only drop a tip. Don't breathe a word to no one, but I'm going on a trip. Shh. Don't breathe a word to no one, but he's going on a trip. Hey, give me some magazines to read for when I'm on the ship. Don't breathe a word to no one, but he's going to go by ship. It's a cinch to keep a secret if a fella just takes care. He's sailing on a troop ship. Now we got to find out where. I'm a sound and silent soldier, just as steady as a rock. Here's to my little secret with its chain and padlock. Hello, baby. Hiya, Tussy. Say you're a nifty trick. I hope I'll meet some babes in Africa as cute as you are. This message is important. I must fly it double quick. It's been a wonderful evening, and I'd like to stay some more. But I gotta get a move on now. I sail at 4:30. He's got to get a move on now. He sails at 4:30. Hey, the troop ship bound for Africa pulls out at 4:30. Calling all wolfpacks! Calling all wolfpacks! The transport ship for Africa pulls out at 4:30. Hail! It was that let my secret out. What was that I heard you say, my little sauerkraut? He wonders who in hell it was that let his secret out.
The Warner Brothers cartoon crew also helped the U.S. Navy with the Seaman Hook series. The lead character, Hook, was conceived by Hank Ketchum, who later created Dennis the Menace. Warner Brothers only produced 3 Seaman Hooks. This lost cartoon was made to prepare America's fighting sailors for life after the war. The return of Mr. Hook marked the directorial debut of Robert McKimson.
Okay, you can laugh, fellas, but I got post-war plans. When those whistles start blowing, I'm going ashore.
Now I'll show you the back.
Next comes the girlfriend. Hello, honey.
Darling, when can I see you?
Well, don't just stand there, honey. Hang up the phone. Choo-choo, will you marry me? Then we'll be ready for the big day. I do. But this takes dough. Huh?
We got post-war plans, too. Yeah!
Penny bonds today. We'll be blessed if we all invest in the USA. Scrape up the most you can. Here come the freedom men. Come along and buy a share of freedom today.
By the end of World War II, Bugs Bunny had become America's biggest cartoon star. Warner Brothers gave Bugs the star treatment with 2 feature film cameos. The first was in a Dennis Morgan, Jack Carson comedy entitled Two Guys from Texas. The animated scene borrows from several earlier Warner Brothers cartoons, particularly Swooner Crooner. And now, one of the few times Bugs Bunny invades somebody's dream other than Elmer Fudd, the animation sequence from Two Guys from Texas.
You may not believe this, Doc, but in this dream I'm a shepherd, and I'm out in the pasture with my little flock. It's that wolf. Every time I collect a bunch of lambs, he steals them away from me.
Let me give you a word of advice, chum. Give me a duck. Now I'll tell you what to do. You put the sun on the ground.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Forget it. Always glad to help out a chum. Chump, that is.
Every day I love you just a little bit more, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Every day I want you just a little bit more than I did the day before. You'll never guess how deep my love is, not even in your wildest dream. But just so you'll get it clear, compared to my love, my dear, the Mississippi River's just a stream. Every day I want you just a little bit more than I did the day before. Every day I love you just a little bit more, just a little bit more, just a little.
In 1945, MGM had great success combining a live-action Gene Kelly with an animated Jerry Mouse. 4 years later, Warner Brothers employed a similar technique in My Dream Is Yours, starring Doris Day, Jack Carson, and Bugs Bunny. This live-action and animated sequence was created by directors Michael Cortez and Friz Freleng. Both the MGM and Warner Brothers dance scenes were decades ahead of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Is there no way of getting that kid out of bed?
Freddie, I gotta get you up and dressed, up and dressed.
Freddie, you gotta look your Sunday best, your Sunday best. Oh, Freddie, look in the Easter Bunny's nest, the bunny's nest.
Get ready, I've got to get you up and dressed.
But he doesn't hear a word I say. There doesn't seem to be a way to get him up and dressed today.
He heard the cock-a-doodle-doo of every rooster and the clock-a-doodle-doo. They're always waking up the stock-a-doodle-doo, but Freddie doesn't bat an eye.
Waking up is such a terrible shock.
A doodle-doo, he must be sleeping like a rock-a-doodle-doo.
I'm gonna give another knock-a-doodle-doo and try to make the feathers fly.
Put on your shirt, put on your pants. You better get dressed, I'll give you one more chance. Put on your shoes, put on your hat.
I thought a party cat. Come on, Fred, get out of bed. I know you heard what they said. Hurry on, hurry on, hurry on, Lou. Mr. Trouble hasn't got a thing on you.
Wash your hands and wash your face and part your hair the proper place.
Wash wherever dirt appears and don't forget behind your ears.
Get your shirt and get your pants, you haven't got another chance.
Get your coat and get your hat and get your blue and white cravat.
Brush your teeth and shine your shoes and hurry, there's no time to lose.
If you dawdle, I'm afraid you're gonna miss the big parade.
Hurry, 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 hurry. Ready, get ready.
We'll be back in just a moment with more rare cartoons. But first, what happened during World War II that changed Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies forever? We'll have the answer when ToonHeads The Lost Cartoons returns in just a moment. Welcome back to our special edition of ToonHeads The Lost Cartoons. During the Second World War, Leon Schlesinger retired from Warner Brothers, leaving behind a legacy of classic cartoons and the world's greatest roster of animated characters. Now back to ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons. In the late 40s, Warner Brothers cartoons and their creators were finally recognized for their achievements, winning the Academy Award for the cartoon Tweety Pie.
I thought I saw a putty cat.
Just 2 years later, they won again, this time for the documentary So Much for So Little, directed by Chuck Jones. This short subject explored the benefits of contributing a rather dated 3 cents a week to the U.S. Health Department. It is believed that this animated short has never been seen before on television. It is truly a lost treasure.
$2,621,392. A nice even figure. That's the number of babies who will be born next year in the United States. Of these babies, 118,481 will die before reaching their first birthday. Oh, well, what's a few babies, more or less? We've got lots of babies. It really doesn't matter if one baby lives or dies, or does it? Well, good morning, John. This is John Emerson Jones, Jr. Fine, healthy-looking boy, isn't he? This is where I come into the picture. Your local health officer and my staff. Part of our job is to eliminate open sewage, do away with fly-breeding places, and give your Johnny a new shot at the presidency. Maybe you'll get to be a year old yet, but you've still got some very tough customers to meet on the path of your life, like whooping cough and diphtheria, rheumatic fever, and smallpox. But don't worry, John. That's where your local health officer, that's me, comes back into the picture. Another part of my job is to keep track of you and to see that you're properly immunized, or protected in other ways so that you have the weapons to fight back when these enemies attack you. Well, well. Look who's in the 4th grade. Hiya, John. Shh. Oh, I'm sorry. Mind if we look around? Looks like you're being well taken care of, Johnny. Shh. Oh, pardon me. Grown up now, John? Mr. Jones? Hey, wake up. You know her. That's Mary. Mary Lawrence. Changed since high school, hasn't she? For the better. Congratulations. You ought to make a very happy couple. You're fine, healthy-looking specimens. Nothing wrong with you, huh? Are you sure? Let's be really sure. Step in for just a couple of minutes. Now, don't worry, John. It's a very simple process for you. And I know Mary won't mind it either. But there's one thing you do have to worry about, John. A local health department is costing you. Yes, John, it's costing you real money. 3 cents a week. That's right. 3 cents a week per person can provide basic public health services in your community. Grandma and Grandpa Johnny Jones. And we've come a long way together. From now on, folks, you're pretty much on your own. But wait, just a minute. This looks like a happy ending. And it should be a happy ending for a fine boy like Johnny. But the odds are better than 25 to 1 that he'll be born into a community with inadequate public health service or none at all. So it looks like Johnny's chances of being among the 118,481 new babies who'll die next year are pretty good, doesn't it? But let's get one thing straight. There's nothing about this figure that is sacred. It can be reduced. Which kind of public health service does your community have? It's up to you.
One of the oddest of the lost cartoons is not even a cartoon, but it was created by the legendary cartoon directors Chuck Jones and Friz Freleng. Orange Blossoms for Violet combined live-action Max Sennett silent comedy footage with new dialogue voiced by narrator Robert C. Bruce.
This is Violet. Her cheeks soft and fuzzy as a used pipe cleaner.
And cartoon regulars B. Benaderet and Mel Blanc.
Harvey, what are you doing here? You've been drinking.
Who's been drinking?
In this comedy short created in the early 50s, Chuck Jones and Friz Freleng made comedians out of monkeys, long before Lancelot Link's Secret Chimp.
Why, you...
In the 50s, Chuck Jones introduced theatergoers to a dreamy little boy named Ralph Phillips. The cartoon, from A to Z's, included the incredible layout designs of Maurice Noble.
Well, Mr. Phillips, daydreaming again?
3 years later, the same animators, under the direction of Jones, brought the character back, this time about 12 years older, for a series of Army recruitment films. Drafty, isn't it, was shown in high schools and Army enlistment centers. The cartoon brought a lighthearted touch to the task of military recruiting. This cartoon short hasn't been shown since the days of the Vietnam War.
Elodium Fosdex, check. Anti-proton ballast, check. Prepare afterburners for blast off. Comfy? Have I got your attention? Okay, let's straighten out a few facts about you and the Army. You know, Ralphie, it's a funny thing, but every high school senior I've ever known thinks that when he gets into the service, all his buddies will look like a bunch of lower Slobovians. Actually, they're going to be pretty much like the guys you're graduating with. Another interesting idea held by a lot of otherwise bright high school seniors is that the Army has all the right size clothing, but that it's mainly interested in getting it on all the wrong size people. Well, nice comic book stuff. But actually, the Army's no more interested in putting you into the wrong sized uniform than your football coach would be. And for the same reasons. It's not necessary, it's inefficient, and it's just plain sloppy. The way they tell it, basic training's supposed to be nothing but being chewed out by a bunch of sadistic sergeants.
Arms! Arms! Arms!
As a matter of fact, the Army's not about to use inefficient comic strip non-coms or officers any more than it would use outdated or inefficient weapons. Let's take a look at basic training and find out what it's really going to be like. Well, you're going to learn a few things at basic. You're also going to develop muscles that'll be useful later. Some you didn't even know you had. You're going to learn to snap a salute to all officers. Now, where'd that custom come from? Well, the way I heard it, the only way one knight could recognize another knight under those cast-iron tuxedos was to lift his visor. It's a sort of hello among military men. Then one day, you're going to suddenly realize that you're beginning to look like and act like a soldier or a man. And you'll be surprised to find that you're very proud to be serving your country in the United States Army. Now what? Actually, the Army wants to send you where you'll be most useful and where you can serve the best. How about that dream of working with rockets or atomic power? How about guided missiles? You choose it, the Army's got it. The only ticket you need to this program is one high school diploma. Sound good? Well, I can make it sound better. This is Paris, and it's no dream. It's solid, and it's yours. Ralph Phillips, USA. Sound pretty choice? So why not call on the Army before the Army calls on you? What's the matter with you? You gone nuts or something?
We'll be right back with more Lost Cartoons. But first, do you know who was the inspiration for the voice of Daffy Duck? We'll have the answer when ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons, returns in just a moment. Welcome back to our special edition of ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons. Leon Schlesinger was known to have a slight lisp.
I know you come back. About that contract, I didn't tear it up. Now get back to the studio and go to work.
Legend has it that without Leon's knowledge or approval, the cartoon directors at Warner Brothers were parroting Leon's voice when they created the voice for Daffy Duck.
What do you say? What do you say? What do you say?
Now, back to Cartoon Network's special edition of ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons.
Just think, I used to be a 9-pound weakling.
By the early 60s, the Warner Brothers Cartoon Studio had begun to focus on commercial production, in addition to its theatrical and television projects. This marked the first time the cartoon department employed its classic characters in TV commercials, a practice that continues to this day. Many of these commercials have not survived or are lost. Here are a few early examples of Bugs Bunny and Friends as advertising pitchmen.
So, start your day a little bit better with a sugar and honey and whole wheat treat, fresh from Post.
Thanks, fellas. I'm on my way to Tang-Rilla. Over and out.
If he thinks he's going to beat me to Tang-Rilla, he has another think coming.
Time for a Tang break. On Earth, we mix Tang by the pitcherful.
We Martians prefer mixing Tang by the glassful.
And notice, it's the new natural orange flavor Tang.
So is ours, and we serve it cold.
Oh, yes, and one other thing.
It's great for breakfast or any thirsty old time.
Tang-Rilla. Gee, Doc, I thought you'd never get here.
This planet is not big enough for both of us.
You're right, Mac.
Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Let me at him. Where'd he go? Where'd he go?
Take it from me, fellow Earthlings. Drink Tang, gang. It's Tang-gerific.
The Warner Brothers animators explored the possibilities of television with a live-action and animated pilot for ABC called Filbert. The show was created by Friz Freleng and directed by Richard Donner, who later made Superman and Lethal Weapon for Warner Brothers. Filbert never made it as a TV series, but the show's co-star, William Shallard, starred the following year as the father on The Patty Duke Show. Eventually, this rare pilot was released in theaters as a short subject.
Down where the trade winds blow.
Don't tell me, I know. You're stuck for a gag again.
Filbert, a cartoonist is always stuck for a gag.
I got it. Look, I'm standing there leaning on the building like this. Get it? Along comes a cop and says, "Oh, now look, Mac, What are you leaning on the building for? It won't fall down. Come on, no, beat it. Beat it. I walk away, and guess what happens?
The building falls down.
Yeah, no good, huh?
Let me be the cartoonist, Filbert. I'll finish this later. Angela's coming over to cook dinner tonight.
Angela? Dames are poison to you.
Now, look, Filbert, Angela and I are good friends. I mean, she's warm, she's soft, she's beautiful.
She's a witch.
Now, cut that out.
In the early 60s, Chuck Jones created an animated pilot for the ABC network called The Roadrunner Show. The pilot never aired on TV, but was released the following year as a theatrical short called The Adventures of the Roadrunner. At 26 minutes, it was Warner Brothers' longest theatrical animation to date. The film was later cut into 2 cartoon shorts for TV. Here are the never-before-seen opening credits and the original song, which was later used for the cartoon Roadrunner A Go-Go.
Out on the desert, early in the morning, see the desert flowers all in a row. Hear the little birdies with their happy greetings. Meet, 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 meet.
There he goes. Out on the desert, early in the morning, see the new Roadrunner burning up the roads.
See the old coyote dreaming of his breakfast. Meet, 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 meet.
There he goes.
Meet, meet.
This scene is also used in the cartoon Roadrunner A Go-Go, but the following scene was never used in any cartoon short, and it is believed that this clip has never been seen before on television.
Let us now turn our attention to the screen and ask ourselves what possible reason could there be for that last mishap. You will note that everything necessary for success was anticipated. 1, tight, sure grip on rope. 2, feet planted firmly on ground. 3, ample backing clearance. 4, grim, determined expression. What could possibly have been missing? Only one small thing. Lack of knowledge that a roadrunner and a transcontinental truck have the same cry, namely, beep, beep. Solution? Obvious to the experienced physicist. A stabilizing factor. In layman's language, a huge rock in case of another truck. Meep, meep. Now, observe and learn. Meep, meep.
Here is the closing scene of The Adventures of the Roadrunner. The poor quality of this rare animation is a poignant reminder of the importance of film preservation, which is now a top priority at many animation studios. Tonight, we looked back at some rare and priceless cartoons, but now we must look forward to finding and preserving other lost animated treasures. Thanks for watching Cartoon Network's special edition of ToonHeads, The Lost Cartoons.
Thanks a lot.
Drink Tang, gang. It's Tang-terrific.